Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live session on Dreamer Z Official. So my name is Gina. My spiritual name is Lakshmi. And today we are going to talk about how your ancestors are influencing your current state of mind, how they can be preventing you from perhaps succeeding in certain areas of your life, maybe creating certain blockages that have to do with their own conceptions, preconceptions that their soul is holding on to. So how could this possibly work? It sounds so bizarre. Well, we know that we all come from a long lineage of people, of human beings, who from our DNA is passed on from generation to generation. What we also just recently found out through science is that the thoughts and memories of your ancestors can also be passed on to you. It's called epigenetics. And that is when I think it's six generations or so can be literally hold a memory. Your brain can hold a memory from your generations, the generations before you. So now we know from scientific standpoint that we actually can have thoughts from our lineage. Dr. Pillai says that we also have soul genetics, or a way in which our soul is influenced by the souls of our ancestors. So how does this work? When someone passes on, leaves the body, they become a disembodied spirit. That spirit then has the ability to give influence via their thoughts and desires to those in their lineage. So even if you don't know these people, you don't need to know their names or who they were. In fact, you probably don't, because this can happen for 6, 12, 64 generations of people. There's no way you could possibly know who they are. They don't have anything against you. But what happens is, as the soul transitions from a body to a disembodied spirit, it sometimes has a hard time reconciling that shift or that change. And when that happens, you have the influence. So the disembodied spirit shifts into a different existence. And when that happens, that disembodied spirit does not always know that it perhaps transitioned or doesn't have a body. It could be confused. It also takes with it the same desires that we have here on the earth plane. A lot of our desires are based on how we perceive things and how we receive influence from through our senses, the 5 senses. So taste and smell and hearing and sight and touch. These are the ways that we experience life on earth, primarily. So when we no longer have a body, guess what? Your soul still remembers how you were experiencing life on earth. And then it might want to continue to feel those sense pleasures or those sense gratifications. And when it cannot, because it no longer has the ability, doesn't have a body to receive any information through the senses, it goes to the next best thing. It's you, the next of kin, in terms of someone who has a body, who they're attracted to, or they can relate to in some way. You, out of all of your other relatives, might be more apt to receiving influence or attraction from these disembodied spirits because you're spiritual. They go to the people who are more apt to help them, right? So you, since you're obviously here and watching this, are probably more apt to help them. And today we're going to walk through how to actually do that. So we'll do a quick version of doing an ancestor offering that helps that disembodied spirit. Okay, so now your ancestors have passed on. They're in a disembodied state. They're not quite sure what to do. They have some pleasure. They might be seeking pleasure. They can be attached to money, food, sex. They might have addictions that they didn't get to go through in their life, gambling or alcohol or drugs. Those are still embedded in their soul, because until they take another body or until they release those desires are still at the soul level, the energetic level when they passed on. So here's this soul, not quite into the heavenly realms, doesn't have a body, it's in an in-between state, and it wants to have fulfillment. It comes to you. Now, when this happens, this disembodied spirit is hanging around, you may feel their thoughts. You may feel and think their blockages. So not only their current thoughts, which would be around their lack of ability to have sensation. So for example, maybe they want an alcoholic beverage, or they want to, they're attached to some piece of jewelry they left behind. Those things that are bothering them will come to you in thought forms and waves of energy. In addition to that, you'll also have forms of thought that may come from the lineage as a whole. So for example, if a certain segment of your ancestors experienced a famine or a genocide, that is a very strong group or collective thought that you may also have sensitivity to, or might have, like, perhaps if your ancestors were in Ireland with the potato famine, you might have a food scarcity that you're not even sure why you have it, because of a large amount of these ancestors who are in this lingering period may be influencing you with their thoughts that they're not able to feel fulfilled, or there's a fear around it, and then that gets passed on to you. So you have the individual spirits that are having individual thought processes that could be influencing you. Could be the closer they were to you, if you do know them, that you have more influence from them. Or you can have a collective group of spirits in your ancestry that is contributing to a type of thought that you may be feeling. Now, either way, whether it's an individual spirit or a collective group of spirits from your lineage, they will be passing on to you thoughts and also limitations. So a limitation of how you might be blocking your wealth, for example, how they thought in the past about whether wealth should be abundant in your life or scarce in your life. So you may see a tendency for generations of people to have a particular type of wealth. Or you may see generations of people not having wealth. This is that lineage this is the ancestor thought and energy that is being passed on from generation to generation. So we are a product, in large part, of the generations that came before us. And so how do you break this? And so before we get to how you break it, this might help you understand your current situation, the current type of thoughts you might be having. Sometimes you may even feel like, wow, gosh, this doesn't even feel like my thought. I really have a deep desire to have abundance in my life, or have healthy relationships, or whatever it may be, but I'm feeling this nagging energy or this disposition I keep going back to. This could be ancestor influence. This is one of the 4 primary influences that Dr. Pillai talks about that comes to us in thought and contributes to the type of thoughts we have, and then that creates our mindset, and our mindset creates our world, quite literally our life. So here we are. This is a primary influence of our thoughts through our ancestors. I just explained how it pretty much all works. So now what do you do? Now that you know that this could be an issue for you, what do you do next? I'm going to go through this ceremony. Now, before we do the ceremony, the other thing that I wanted to mention is that in order to know, I just wanted to give you an example. I've mentioned this before, and I just love this example. A friend of mine, his grandfather passed away, and he was upset about it, right? But he also ordered this, what's called a Maha Tarpanam, or a grand ancestor ritual that gets performed for an individual. What we're going to do today is a general, smaller ceremony that gets performed for many generations. But this one is very targeted. It's done by a specialist in India, and after the grandfather passed away, this person, my friend, started drinking gin and tonics. And it wasn't his drink of choice. He had, he's not an alcoholic, but just, on a casual drink, he started drinking gin and tonics. And then the ritual got performed for him in India, Mahatarpanam, it's called. And a few days later, or whenever that transition happened, he realized he acknowledged that he no longer had this desire to drink gin and tonics. It then occurred to him that gin and tonic was his grandfather's favorite drink. Now, this to me just blew my mind. Here's this spirit who recently passed on, still had the desire for this particular type of drink. Now the person in the body was now consuming this on behalf of the spirit, because the spirit wanted to fulfill that desire. Once the spirit was resolved its attachments and was able to move on to a higher plane, closer to complete immersion in light, then that desire went away, because the spirit's desire went away to have that fulfilled. And so then my friend no longer had to drink gin and tonics on behalf of his grandfather. So a really interesting example. And if you might, this is a trigger, like if you feel like you might have desires that don't feel like yours, or you're thinking thoughts or acting out certain activities that may not feel like they're necessarily yours, just clue into that. Look in to see where that might be coming from, perhaps, and you don't need to pinpoint it, but watch as you begin to do this ceremony, how that might change over time. Okay, so when do you do this ceremony? Really important that you do it on new moon days. If you only do it on this day throughout the entire month, that's okay. However, Dr. Pillai does recommend we do it every single day between sunrise and sunset in your time zone. That means the sun is up wherever you are. Just don't do it at night, okay? So there is specific timings. And then within that period of time when the sun is up, it doesn't matter if it's morning or evening or midday. I like to do it in the morning just to get it over with. I kind of wrap it into my morning activities, showering, etc. So it just helps to get it done. And it literally can take just a couple minutes. So what do you need in order to perform this ritual? I have a few items here I'm going to show you. One, the most basic, is rice flour. Now, I took regular old rice and ground it up, but you can also buy rice flour at the store, which would make it a lot easier for you. I just didn't happen to have this where I am at the moment. If you cannot grind the rice or cannot find rice flour, just take regular raw rice. In India, they actually cook it. So either way, if it's raw or cooked, it doesn't really matter. You can use rice as the substance. What we're going to be doing is making an offering of this food item to the ancestors in order to help appease their souls. So these rice. Next, we have black sesame seeds. Pretty easy to get nowadays in I can get it online, or you can get it in a health food store. Just pour it out. You'll want some water, and you'll want a coin of any currency, preferably your own, since this is where your lineage, your people have come from. Okay. I'm going to mix these together. This is what I just separated them so that you can see. So you mix them together in about this type of portions, but it really doesn't, if you have more black sesame seeds, that's okay, but it should look about like this. Another item, if you have it, is called darba grass, and if you don't have it, that's okay too, because it's simply optional. And if you are able to have it, wonderful, and if you don't worry about it. If you do have it, you can use it. In India, they have it in like 6-inch pieces. You can put it in the hand when you're offering, or you can chop it up and mix it into this and use it as offering. Once you make the offering, you're going to see that it goes into this bowl. I'm going to then put it outside. We used to recommend that you put it down the drain, which is kind of, you want to put it in running water or in the earth somewhere, but it tends to clog your drain, and we don't want you to have issues. These little guys turn into sprouts in your drain if you're not careful, and we don't want you to ruin anything. Okay, so here's how you're going to do it. You're going to take you're going to hold out your right hand. I'm going to take about a teaspoon, but you don't have to measure it. You just grab it with your hand. I just happen to have a teaspoon here. Hold it in your hand like so, and you're going to put a little bit of water. You're going to put a little bit of water into your hand so that you make this a little bit like a paste. And so if you're at your sink, you just run a little bit of water in it. I'm just not there. So I'm pouring a little here, and you can see it's just a little bit. It becomes kind of like a paste. It doesn't have to be a lot. And again, don't worry if you have too much or too little. So it's gonna look a little like so. You wanna hold your right hand. If you are able to face south, that's an ideal direction for the in which to face. If you can't, again, do the best you can. So now that you have this and you have your coin, I'm gonna put this in here. I have a bowl here. So I'm over top of this. And again, you can do this at your sink if you would like as well. So I hold this up and I say a little prayer. You can call upon Ganesha or Vishnu if you like to call in some divine support. So I just usually do that real quietly. Om Gam Ganapate Namaha, Om Gam Ganapate Namaha, Om Vishnave Namaha, Om Vishnave Namaha, Om Vishnave. If you want to call on anyone else, that's fine spiritually. You can call on anyone from your own religion, to Jesus or the angels or the saints, anyone. It doesn't, it's fine. So but the primary ceremony here, or the prayer here, is connecting with the ancestors. Feel their lineage. All the ancestors. And I do all, but you can do a variety of generations. You can do 64 generations. You can do 6 generations, 12 generations, okay? You can do a variety of calling upon them. I'm just going to do them all. It's a catch-all, and you do this every day. So every day you kind of are able to pull in a few more of those ancestors. All the ancestors on my mother's side, all the ancestors on my father's side, please come and receive this offering. Let go of all your worldly attachments. Let go of your attachments to people or places or things. Receive this offering and move into the light. Move into the light so you can be free, your soul can be free. And when you get to the light, please bless me. You can also say, bless me and any family member that is of the same, that you're with, like your children or your siblings. You can include them because that lineage is still coming to bless. And so you want to receive their blessings. And then once this is done, you pour it into the bowl. And you're rinsing it off. Okay, so I'm going to do that one more time because there might be questions from folks. So again, a little scoop. Now you'll notice my coin fell in there. That's okay. You're going to retrieve the coins afterwards. I'm just going to use a new one. Put some water. A little bit of the water here. You can see it's a little bit of the consistency. All the ancestors on my mother's side, all the ancestors on my father's side, please receive this offering. Receive this offering to nourish your soul. Let go of your worldly attachments to people, places, things. Let yourself and your soul soar to the heavenly realms, letting go of earthly bondage. And please send your blessings back to me and my family. And you might feel like a tingling sensation. You might feel their energy around you. That's all okay. It's understandable. And you can do this as many times as you like. So how we just did it twice, you can continue to do this over and over. You might feel different sensations. You might feel like they are maybe being like feeling fed or feeling satisfied. So continue to do it as long as you like. And so you just, again, rinse this off. You can let the coin, you can grab the coin and use it again. So there it is. So my hand's nice and clean now. and you can continue. So I have a whole bowl. And one of the things Dr. Pillai does recommend that on new moon days, because that's the most powerful time of the whole month to do this, he actually has said to do it 108 times. If you're able to do that, it doesn't take very long. As you saw, it took like a minute, literally, for me to go through this. Some people go into longer conversations with their ancestors. That's fine. Another thing someone said, which I really enjoyed once, is he, before he began, he appreciated them, like thanking them for what they have given you, because you don't want to feel ungrateful, right? Like, so thank you for, you know, whatever it is you feel grateful for from your lineage. Maybe you have really good hair. Maybe you have really good money karma. Maybe you have certain qualities about you that come from your ancestors you want to thank them for. So go ahead and do that. Have them feel, give your gratitude and let them, and receive the blessings from that, because they're going to enjoy being, feeling your gratitude, and then go into the ceremony of the offerings. So that is what I wanted to cover today. This is why you should, why you might have blockages or thoughts from your ancestors, how that works, and then how you can remove it, and the prayer and offering you do to them to help relieve their spirits to move into higher realms. And so when you do that, then they bless you. So you can see how this reciprocal action is so beneficial for both of you. Their souls being resolved and moving on to higher realms. And when that happens, you are no longer affected or afflicted by their thoughts and their desires. And then they bless you. So you get double blessings, because you no longer have to receive their influence, and you get the blessing from them instead, and their soul is free. So that is, so that's the situation. That's the ceremony. And again, new moons and any time during the day, every day, while the sun is up. So now I'll take some questions. When we do this, is it clear for our children? Yes. So since your children have the same lineage as you do, you're helping them. They also have another parent. So that would be something, another aspect, but definitely the lineage that your children receive through you is, they receive the benefits. Yes, if you cannot find black sesame seeds, regular or white sesame seeds are fine. Any questions? No, the denomination of the coin and the currency of the coin does not matter. What time is best? I already mentioned that. Anytime. It doesn't matter if it's morning, evening, mornings or afternoons or anything. It just has to be when the sun is up. Cannot be at night when the sun's down. Okay, so what do you do with this afterwards? So here's my offerings, and what I'm going to do is throw it outside. If you have running water in you can take the coins out. And if you have running water in your area, put it into a stream. That's ideal. If you don't have running, like an ocean, a pond, a stream of any kind, that's ideal. If you don't have that, then just putting it in your land anywhere where someone's not going to walk. So I can just do that. Yes, meaning when the sun is up. So anytime when the sun is up, you do the ceremony. Yeah, so good question. If you're adopted or you don't know your lineage, you don't need to know them. Remember, I said that in the beginning. You don't necessarily know who they are. You're going to speak to their soul. So you may not have known Uncle Joe from your dad's side, right? But he's there in a spirit, and you're going to speak to that. There's a question, do we require Lord Vishnu to bless them and release them? Please let me know. No, it's not required. So it's an optional prayer in the beginning if you would like to do that. It's traditional in India to call upon Ganesha and specifically Vishnu for this purpose. But we have had people who are Christians and different faiths perform this and have it really made a difference. Because the souls are still out there. They don't, they're the ones listening to this act that you're doing. Okay, so there's a question. I knew this would come up. Do we do this even after our mom and dad are alive? In India, there is a tradition where you are not supposed to perform this type of ritual if your parents are living. Dr. Pillai is not Orthodox, and he is saying that this is okay to do. If you, however, are from a strong traditional Hindu family or something, and this is not something you're supposed to do, then please don't do it. This is for the people who are open to performing this type of ritual and not having that stigma or that Orthodox religious view that they use as a guideline. And if you do, 100% respect that. Don't upset anyone in your family. And if you are okay with performing the ritual, then please do. For the adopted parents, do we honor them? Yes, you can, because they were part of your life. So you can do this ritual for them, in which case you would name them. So you name them, you pray for their spirit to move on. You can even pray for their lineage to move on, since that was a very close relationship. If you live in a condo, you don't have a backyard, you can put it down the drain if you feel comfortable doing that. The only reason I tell you not to is because it could block it. And if you could also put it, drain it. So drain the water out like in a sieve. And then this becomes very little bit of stuff. And then you can just throw it in a anywhere outside. The question is, what intention should we be before and while doing this? The intention is that you want your ancestors to move on, and your prayer can be whatever comes from your heart. Mine was to allow them to release their attachments to the world so that they can move on into the light, and that's really what we want them to do. That's our intention that we're creating for them and for us, because we want them to bless us and we want them to be relieved. Yes, you can do this if you're on your menstrual cycle as females. Okay, so it says, it is always that our ancestors bless and love us. Yes, perhaps. However, it's not their intention to harm us. We'd like to believe it's not their intention to harm us, but because they're in disharmony with their own soul, that reverberation, that vibration comes to us and impacts us. So we're not saying that they're wanting to harm us in any way, but if they don't have harmony in their transition, then that can be impacting us. Yes, so if one parent is alive, you can still do this. So as per Dr. Pillai, if your parents are alive or deceased, you can do this. I know in India, the tradition is a little bit of a difference. Yes, ideally you're not throwing it into the garbage, you just put it somewhere outside. So really you're wanting to release it into nature of some sort. And of course, this will be on replay for those of you to rewatch and to use this while you're on new moons or every day. We can even pull out the segment of the instructions. So that's all. It looks like that's all the questions we have so far. I want to thank you for attending. Thank you for being here, contributing your amazing energy. Please use the new moon tomorrow, Saturday. It's also an eclipse. It's a very, very, very powerful time to be acknowledging and honoring your ancestors. It's a double power day for ancestor ceremonies. So this is a perfect time to be doing this. So hope this helps you all. And if you have any questions, just post them below. We'll be looking. And for those of you who are interested in joining the Wealth Activation Program, the first teaching call is is Sunday, June 21st. We're going to reboot the entire program so you haven't missed a thing. And these ceremonies that we just did here are guided every new moon with a Pillai Center teacher for several iterations. So if you feel like maybe you don't have the discipline to do it, we are going to do it with you. We're going to tell you what to bring with you. So tomorrow there's going to be probably like a half-hour session of ancestor rituals guided by a Pillai Center teacher, so that you can do it as you go. So you can also so that you can benefit from the collective energy of a group participating in this type of ceremony. So we've got you covered. We've got all the power times over the next 3 months where you'll be engaging with teachers and activities to make the most of those power times. And the new moons are only one aspect of that. We have Fridays offerings and chanting. We have daily chanting calls. We have new moon ancestor offerings, and we have full moon fire labs, all included in the program, in addition to the course content and teachings that you'll receive. So that's it. I wish you all an amazing week. This is a very, very powerful time with the new moon, the solstice, and the eclipse all happening on Saturday. And then we shift into a whole new waxing phase of the moon on Sunday for growth and abundance. Wish you all the best. Namaste.